Build Kansas Fund updates. Sean Wiesner, Executive Director of the Kansas Infrastructure Hub, on behalf of the Build Kansas Steering Committee. Sean, welcome committee.
Okay, good morning. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here with all of you. As Senator Billinger mentioned, I'm Sean Wessner, and I'm the new Executive Director for the Kansas Infrastructure Hub. I'm really happy to be here with you all today, and I'm looking forward to meeting with you individually in the weeks to come. Here's what our agenda looks like. I'm going to go through some updates. We're going to do an update of our dashboards. We'll go through the Build Kansas Fund application review, and then we will show you a couple of slides which shows our outreach and events over the course of October and November. I wanted to start by sharing with you all two big events that happened since the last time that you met with the Infrastructure Hub. You could add a third, which was hiring a new director, which is me. We held our first technical assistance convening meeting, which brought together 35 technical assistance providers across the state of Kansas to share best practices, current challenges, and how the hub can better assist in collating resources, infrastructure resources, for those who provide critical community support across the state. We also held an in-person steering committee meeting where we discussed what our priorities can and should be as we move the hub into the second phase of its existence. And I say second phase if you look at it from a 4-year point of view, the first 2 years, and now we're entering into years 3 and 4. Much of our focus centered upon how we can play a more pivotal role as an interlocutor across state agencies with regards to both federal and state grants management, and how we can provide communities resources and options for both. I put this next slide together because I want you all to have a perspective of what the IIJA opportunities are currently. And we're looking at a 7-month time frame between 2024 and 2025. And I share this with all of you because I believe that it's important to better understand how the IIJA management structure has evolved over the course of the past year. So as I mentioned, what we've done via this graph is highlighted a 7-month time frame between 2024 and 2025 to show specifically how IIJA grant opportunities have declined over the past calendar year. While these figures may seem concerning, it's important to note the numbers represented in the second column under 2024 were the total number of IIJA grants opportunities, of which not all were applicable to the state of Kansas. And it's also worth noting is the grants covered a very broad range of sectors, from transportation and water infrastructure, broadband, energy, and resilience, which I think most of you know. In 2025, that 138 figure dropped to 33 during the same time frame. While a few reoccurring programs did reopen, many of the opportunities that communities relied on in 2024 were not reissued for this fiscal year. As a result of that, applicants had fewer chances to compete for infrastructure funding. While the decision around budgeting for federal grants is, as we all know, outside of our control, what's important to take away from this slide is what I feel is within our control. While the number of federal grants on a national scale may have decreased, community needs across our state have not. Funding may fluctuate, but the needs of our communities carry on. So I believe what this moment calls for is for us to take a look at renewed creativity, collaboration, and commitment, whether through innovation, partnerships, or grassroots efforts. Our obligation to address these needs should and must remain the same. As such, our team, and please take this in the vein of I've been on the job for 7 weeks now. So as such, over the course of the 7 weeks, our team has had an opportunity to become more proactive in understanding how we use the IIJA grants as an anchor while simultaneously searching for overlap and commonalities between both state and private funding. On this next slide, we put this particular heat map together to better highlight the hub and TA efforts across sectors and programs. Collaboration across state agencies is essential for the success of any infrastructure project because these efforts often span multiple sectors, jurisdictions, and systems. By working together, agencies can align goals, share data, leverage funding sources, and create more resilient, cost-effective solutions. Whole-of-state collaboration also ensures that projects serve the broader public good. With this in mind, you can see from this map that our technical assistance team provided substantial help across a multitude of areas over the past several months. They received a total of 61 grant program assistance requests, broken down by inquiries at the state, federal, and foundational levels. You can also see across each of the three specifically what agencies or programs were required assistance or were asked for assistance on. So a few of the key state programs, our technical assistance team provided their resources and TA on you can see the Kansas Water Office, that's the most inquiries. KDEM's notice of intent opening for the BRIC project, the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, and the HMPG, which is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and finally Commerce Community Development Program. So while the narrative and obligation around the core central work of the hub remains very much the same, we're also starting to look at providing a proactive approach in which we can connect communities, technical assistance providers, and state agencies. And this was a core theme I mentioned in this first slide around RTA convening. This is the first of a few dashboards that I'm going to share with you. So I believe you all have seen this slide before, but it's updated to reflect that to date, 91.6 million of the allocated 100 million for the Build Kansas funds from both fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 have either been approved, is awarded or committed, and or awaiting federal funding. This leaves a current balance for the Build Kansas funds at 8.8 million. On this next slide, I wanted to briefly go over some Build Kansas funds progress numbers for you. With respect to the number of projects the Build Kansas Fund has processed since October of 2023, we have a total of 148 projects that have received final approval. Of those, 49 have been awarded federal grants, 69 grant applications are awaiting announcements, 19 applications received notice that they were not awarded the grant they applied for, And 11 federal grant program applications were not awarded because the applicant who applied to the federal grant program applied for a program that was ultimately canceled. And this is a new distinction that we've broken out since the last time you met with the hub. I thought it was also important to share the difference between not awarded and canceled. From a dollar perspective, of the nearly 185 million BKF requests for funding, the Advisory Council has approved since the start of the program across those 148 applications. 49 projects have been awarded federal funds with BKF commitments totaling $35.10 million. 69 projects are pending decisions, whether awarded or not selected, leaving 56.606 still awaiting federal notification. 19 projects have been informed they were not selected for an award. Therefore, 41.53 million previously committed funds are restored back into the BKF. And 11 projects, which we were speaking about in the slide before, submitted to a federal grant program that was canceled. Therefore, 51.43 million previously committed for funds have been restored. This is another slide in which you can see the total value of awarded projects totaling $149.42 million. So again, to wrap up some of what I have said previously, which is 35.10 million have been committed for Build Kansas funds. 86.08 million federal funds have been unlocked as a result of the applications that have been submitted through the states, which is a 245% return on investment through this program. Being my first time, I don't know if we stop now. Do we pause for questions before we go in?
Questions? Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a way that we could get a list of those 11
Canceled awards?
canceled awards?
Of course.
What they are?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Other
Chairman.
questions? Senator Petty online. Senator Petty, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering, earlier, you had said that we now have 8.8 million left in the build fund, but then when you went back, on the slides there, are those numbers of 41.5 and 51.4, are those funds that would now be back in the fund? Since those were projects that were canceled?
Right. No, it's a super good question, and it was a question that I had myself. So what I had also mentioned is that through the Build Kansas Fund, we had awarded, or what the BKF awards were approved in the amount of $185 million. That was prior to those were the applications that were submitted for federal funding. So the numbers that I mentioned in the 41.53 and 51.43 went back into the fund itself. Is that a satisfactory answer? It took me a couple of times in questions with my team to make sure that I understood as well.
So when you say went back into the fund itself, that's the part that I'm not clear. What, the state fund or?
For the Build Kansas Fund, yes. So the total amount of awards that had been approved by the steering committee and the legislative advisory committee was 184 million, which I think, as everyone knows, up to date, there's been 100 million that has been dispersed. Now, many of those projects, over half of them, are still awaiting their federal award notification.
So then when you say so actually there hasn't been 100 million dispersed. They've been committed.
Correct. Committed, yes.
I was just trying to get clarification about what is left in the build fund, because you did say 8.8 million. So is there 8.8 million left, or is there more because of projects that were not awarded?
There is more that is physically still there. The amount of committed awards, if the federal funding goes through, we will have, and we're waiting on the announcement of those awards, the balance will be 8.8 million.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Waymaster.
Right, so I'm
If I
going to,
didn't do a good enough job of explaining that, you can tell me, and I could maybe ask my colleague to share it a different way. Sometimes two different points of view and perspectives is helpful. But we're also happy to break it down in a spreadsheet too, if that makes it easier for all of you to understand.
and I think the route that Senator Petty was asking is what is actually, I would say, the net balance that we currently have. And so right now, that would be almost $65 million in the fund. Is that correct? 64.9 million?
Jason, do you have that? Yeah, that's correct.
So you just take the 3510 out of the 100 million that's been dispersed, and there's 65 million approximately still sitting in the fund.
Correct.
Okay, was my main question. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, please proceed.
Okay, and perhaps it's intuitive, but maybe it's also helpful to say that with the decline in the federal workforce over the course of 2025, the lag time in terms of announcements when an application has been received and when the announcement is made if it is funded or is not funded is slightly longer at this moment in time. So I know that there have been a lot of questions around, well, the application was submitted months ago, we still don't have an answer. And so I think one of the things that we're just seeing is with a reduced workforce, there's fewer people to review these applications. And so we're all exercising moments of patience. I'm also coming to you from 20 years in the federal government, so I have somewhat of an understanding of how these work with regards to grant applications as well.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this first application is an application that you all have seen previously. It was a tabled application. I believe, as I was told, there was a question about the local cash contribution. So we are revisiting this slide to share that that has been met in the contribution of $8,258,000, which meets the 5% local cost share expectation. And this is for Franklin County.
Questions? Senator Schallenberger.
I think it's 8,258, not 8 million.
Oh, so sorry. It's 8,258. Sorry, that is my mistake.
All right. You confess that you work for the Fed, so.
So, yeah, I'm flawed. What can I say?
Representative Hoffman.
So I think the minutes said that it was supposed to be a 5% match. That we were asking for a 5% match. Look.
Yeah.
Yes, and this goes back to the table doesn't show it, the asterisk at the bottom shows that the applicant match contribution is the 5% match suggestion. It's just the way it's calculated in the table. It comes out to 1% of the total, but it's 5% of the local, 5% of the non-federal match.
And sorry, we noticed that after we had submitted the slides, so I should have made mention of that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Seeing none, without disagreement, or Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When it says match suggestion, who made the suggestion?
I might ask for, since this was prior to my arrival, Jason?
I think it was the committee, Senator Fagg. Other questions? Seeing none, if we're, Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With this money laying around, what happens to is there interest being earned on this money?
With the Build Kansas Fund, or, I wouldn't think so. I don't know. Do you know, Jason?
That would be a question for the state treasurer's office, and unfortunately, they don't have a representative here today.
You want to?
Okay, so where I'm trying to go with this, does that interest should be earning on this? Should it be in this bill fund? That's my question, so.
I think that's something we can certainly follow up on.
Currently, it's going to state general fund.
Okay, but if it's earning interest, does it stay with the
Interest,
treasurer, or does it go back into this fund here?
interest is going to state general fund.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions?
Yes, yes.
Senator Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So earlier, the question came up about the 5% match, and I noticed that that is reflected on every one of the slides that we're going to be seeing as we move forward. So does that, and I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did look over the minutes. Does that mean that these slides do not reflect that 5% match, but now the applicant is meeting the 5% match?
The way that I understand it was this application and the next one as well, both were tabled the last time all of you met, which I believe was in June. There was an ask to go back to the applicants to request a 5% match. And so you will see for this slide and the next slide that they have come back and are contributing the 5%. And I'm sorry that the slide says percent of project, and the second line to the right says 1%, but there's an asterisk on the bottom that actually reflects that it is 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, without objection, then we will approve this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So moving on, once again, as I mentioned, this is an application that you all saw at your last meeting in June. This is with regards to Flint Hills Regional Council. It had been previously tabled, but the community has come back with a local in-kind contribution of $17,333.
Questions? Seeing none, without objection, we'll approve this one. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the next, this is a, sure?
I got a question. Senator Schellenberger.
Sorry, in the summary, it says that it's the implementation of 9 targeted demonstration projects in high-risk locations. They're demonstration projects. What are we demonstrating? Is it how to build a road, how to build a sidewalk, how to build a playground?
So the demonstration projects include railroad safety in St. George, solar lighting in St. George, school access in Onega, ADA accessibility at the Onega Community Center, high-risk intersections, K-18 Scenic Drive roundabout, school traffic flow at Onega High School, Pillsbury Crossing, and US 24, US 77 corridor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, We'll approve that one, thank you.
This is a new application that you have not seen yet. This is for the city of Basel. This project includes the creation and adoption of a CSPAP to implement safe streets for all strategies in Basel. The city would like to have a special emphasis on not only what can be implemented in neighborhoods within city limits, but also what can be implemented along US 24, US 40 highway corridor to promote safety for all. And the BKF request amount is $28,500.
That is the 5% note at the bottom again, correct?
Correct, yes.
Any questions? Seeing none, without disapproval, we'll approve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Here's a map, if that helps to highlight that, the application as well. Next time we can put the maps first, if that feels helpful. And then lastly, this is for Franklin County. This application specifically addresses 2 bridges where the bridge construction is rated as poor. Bridge 1 is a stone masonry arch bridge built in 1930, and that particular bridge is on the National Historic Registry. And Bridge 2 is a 3-box concrete bridge built in 1928. Located within 2 miles of one another, they serve as critical connectors for local commerce and community members, as well as essential routes for emergency services, including the sheriff's office, fire trucks, and ambulances, as well as providing access to approximately 422 acres of agricultural land. Due to their proximity and routes, both bridges are being bundled, and also due to the significant preparation work that is needed to assess the feasibility, preliminary environment, and community impact. So the outcomes of this planning phase will directly inform and strengthen a future application for a bridge investment program construction grant. And if my memory serves me correctly, it's 19 bridges for that this will inform. Do you remember? I think it's 19 because it's a total of 21 bridges they're looking to reconstruct total.
Questions?
Here are some.
Representative Waymaster.
So you said the one bridge that you first mentioned was on the National Historic Register?
Correct.
Did they,
Bridge on the left.
would that qualify, or did they try to attempt with like the Heritage Trust?
I don't know, but that's a question we can certainly go back and ask, unless, Jason, you have any knowledge of that?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're happy to follow up on that.
Other questions? Representative Helgerson.
So does that mean they're going to tear down the bridge?
I don't think the intent is to tear down the bridge. I think it's to reconstruct the bridge.
You mean reconstruct it and build it again?
Do you have anything in the application that has specifics? We can follow up on that for you, Representative Helgerson.
Representative Hoffman.
This is to actually replace the bridges, not to study whether to replace the bridges.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Schallenberger.
Yeah, I don't know if your no is right. It may have been.
If my what was
Can't
right,
bel-
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I can't believe that you can replace a bridge for $197,000. I think the money is going to develop a plan.
Oh, it's a plan, so sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, it's for the plan, sorry.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Senator Fagg, do you have a question? Okay, I thought you, okay. Other questions? Representative Hoffman.
I mean, it looks like they asked for KDOT money. and it didn't fit into, I just not sure why they need a plan when they probably already know what needs to be done with the bridges, but I guess. It's $37,000.
Other questions? Senator Schallenberger.
That raises a question. So if KDOT wanted to, they could fund this out of their $1 billion highway fund for bridges. Right? They could. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? So Senator Schallenberger, did you want to suggest we do that, or? Well, I don't think that it's a bad idea. It's just,
Well, okay, I'll recommend that we at least talk to KDOT and see if they would be willing to fund a little
before we approve it.
more before we.
I think there were 2 suggestions around the application, and we're happy to go back and do some further inquiries around the questions of the historical register and then for KDOT as well.
Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess my question is the bridge investment program, does it not allow them to apply to have the bridges actually rebuilt? Or is it just allow them for planning, design, and engineering?
What I believe to be true, and I'll have my colleague Jason come in case I don't understand in its entirety, is there in this particular area, there's a total of 21 bridges that need to be rebuilt. And so they wanted to put together a plan so that they could look at 2 bridges because they are, I believe, similar in nature to some of the other bridges. They do feel, the community feels, if they bundle all of these projects together as opposed to doing one-off applications, but putting together a strong regional proposal, that they would have a better chance at receiving the full funding. But Jason, did I miss anything?
Okay. Does the bridge investment program allow for the building of the bridges or just the planning?
There is a separate bridge investment program application process for building the bridges, but first you have to have them engineered and preliminarily designed and do the environmental work for that. So that's why they're applying for this first in order to apply for those actual construction funds.
So does okay, see, I see it says part A, so part B must be the building. Does it require that they have to go through this program in order to get part B?
They already had the preliminary engineering work and environmental work done through another funding source. They could go directly to construction, but they haven't done that in the case of these 2 bridges.
Okay, I think we're back to why KDOT can't just fund it. So thank you.
Senator Schallenberger.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our capable staff has pointed out to me that they have already ran that gamut through KDOT and would reject it.
Okay, so
I'll
KDOT.
withdraw my motion.
Okay, so KDOT had turned it down. Okay. Other questions? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we look forward, are they going to be coming back to us for funding? Are they going to go to federal for these 19 bridges or whatever and then come back? You know, I just wondered what their long-term plan to this was.
None of that was included in the application.
And just a statement, I concern myself that when we get into this in Franklin County, we got 105 counties, and I've got every one of my counties saying this is a big issue with bridges. So I'm for them getting the 80%. I guess I'm questioning the state portion of that and trying to be consistent with that. So just, we might have that for later discussion, so.
Very fair.
Representative Waymaster.
Well, and going off of Senator Fagg's comments, you know, when we did the Ike program, I don't know how many years ago that was. We had, I believe we had a portion of that for local bridges. Plus, when the federal government passed some of the infrastructure bills through Congress, there was money that came in regards to transportation and bridges. I would like to know more of the details from KDOT before we forward this on as to why they did not want to move forward. Was there a question of there was a lack of funds? Was it the application? And if this is for a plan or a study, like Representative Hoffman, I believe, said it, well, wouldn't KDOT have done that prior to the decision that was made by KDOT? So I would like to have some information from KDOT as to the particulars of the application when they submitted it to the Kansas Department of Transportation.
Very happy
Okay.
to follow up on that.
Representative Helgerson.
I'd like to echo those same words, but maybe a little bit stronger. I don't think we should get these planning dollars unless there is already a commitment by KDOT to move ahead, or that there is a very likelihood that the federal funds are available. My concern has been in many of these projects that we've seen, we fund the planning, but there's no guarantee that that fits with anybody's long-term plan of getting it done. So I echo what the chairman has said, but I'm probably even a little bit more emphatic direction to the local communities. I want to see the cart and the horse at the same time, not just a component of it.
Senator Francisco, you have a question? Francis.
Well, it would be Representative Francis, but thank you for the demotion, Chair Billinger.
Well, I wasn't sure who was on there. I was told Francisco, so.
Yeah.
Representative Francis, go ahead, please.
Yeah. You know, and I think it's great to have KDOT come in and address this. We have $10 million in the KDOT budget annually, I believe, to help our local units of government upgrade their bridges. And I think this application, what we're trying to do is to leverage local and state dollars to draw down more federal money so that we can repair more bridges on our local system. You know, it appears to me that both of these are local roads. They're not state highways. So they would be primarily the responsibility of the local government to fund these things. And by using the Build Kansas funds, again, we can draw down more federal dollars to help our local governments repair more of their bridges that are in a fair or poor condition.
Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that's a very good point. I think the issue is, why did KDOT not either fund the study or put money into rebuilding these bridges before? I mean, we could do the study, but if KDOT's still not going to put any money in there to rebuild them, then we're just create a study. So I think that's the question, is why was it denied before? I mean, I agree that there's not a lot of money in that local bridge fund, but I mean, KDOT, for some reason, said that these bridges didn't fit into what they were applying for. So I still go back to, I think we need more information from KDOT.
Okay, not a problem. I mean, do we know if it was denied? Yeah.
Representative.
We'll have to actually find out if the answer to that as well. And I think Representative Helgerson, your point is well noted with regards to wanting to have that sort of assurity and assurance of the federal funding. And I think it's, from what I understand, it's they need these plans in order to be able to inform the work that has to be done. And so would love to have a conversation with any of you at some point in terms of just the cycle of how all of this works, because it's not a perfect alignment. And I know that many of these applicants, they feel as though they can have a stronger application if the Build Kansas funds have been approved, and helps them to push that just a little bit more forward than perhaps some of the applications that they receive at a federal level from other states. But it's a good point, and it's well noted.
Representative Francis, you have another question? Representative Francis, go ahead.
Yeah. Not so much a question as a comment, but I just want to let everybody know that this bridge program is oversubscribed year after year after year. And so just because these projects weren't accepted by KDOT, it doesn't mean that they're not worthy. It's just that there's other bridges that might have been higher priority for one reason or another at that moment. There's been a huge amount of inflation in the construction of roads and bridges across the state. So that $10 million addresses fewer and fewer problems every year. So I guess that's all I'm saying is don't take the rejection as a comment about the importance of these bridges, but more of them trying to leverage federal dollars to help more counties across the state. Thank you.
I do have some information that I just pulled from the application, which says the county has applied for state level funding through KDOT for bridge and road improvements. However, these efforts were unsuccessful as current KDOT opportunities either do not align with the unique characteristics of this project or do not provide sufficient funding to meet the project scale. So just because we have that information, wanted to share it with you since that was a question that came up.
What's everyone think? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm all for Franklin County, 80% from the federal government, we chase that. If there's a 20% match that comes into that, I can't imagine them not being able to handle $38,000 in a county budget. So I'm it's always easier to get somebody else to pay the bill. But I'm looking for the consistency of how we take this money and there is a lot of bridges that need to be done. And I just feel like that the 80% federal deal, we help them with that. And I'd be one to be cutting down on that part that we put into and let them put up more of that. Now, that's just my opinion. What level that is, I don't know. You're saying they like to see the state matching fund in that. I'd reverse that almost, if that's where it is. So just for conversation.
Representative Vaughn, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I would actually recommend that we go ahead and forward this on. I think as Representative Francis alluded to, I think state dollars are limited in our ability to fund these projects. These federal dollars are available now. And additionally, I'm not aware of the funding for the actual bridge always being available when the planning process is happening. I think this is stand pat in order to do the plan and then to figure out funding into the future for the actual project. So I don't think that's different than how it normally works. Clearly this is a priority for Franklin County, and the 5% local match is the standard that we set for previous applications. So to go back on that now, I don't think is really fair to Franklin County. So I think you know, I think a lot of the questions that have been raised have been addressed, and I would be supportive of going ahead and forwarding this on. And am in support of doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions? Senator Petty, you have a question?
No, Mr. Chairman, I just want to go on record agreeing with Representative Vaughn and Representative Francis. This local unit of government is, has brought it forward to this point. We do have, as we know, a number of bridge issues across the state. This is not on a state highway, and it does show that Franklin County is moving forward and making this a priority, and that I thought was part of what the Build Kansas program is to help the locals with that effort to pull down more federal dollars. And as we've seen with those earlier slides, some of those federal dollars are being pulled back and not available. And so I think that delaying is not in the best interest when it helps to getting the planning set for this project. So I would agree with Francis and Vaughn in moving this forward.
Other questions, comments? Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It has been brought to this point. So, I would say that I would have to be in favor of that for the consistency, but maybe we have a discussion going forward what we do so everybody understands the plan. So just a thought. I can't believe that a county can't come up with $37,000 for an 80% match. So it's just out looking for somebody else to pay the bill. Thank you.
Representative Francis, you have a question?
Senator Pagas said it all, that we may want to relook at what the local contribution limits are for some of the projects. I've struggled with that the entire time. Another thing, if it would alleviate the concerns of members in the future, I don't know the appropriateness of it, but talk to KDOT about their feeling about kind of giving a stamp of approval on some of these, and that might not be a bad thing for us to consider on almost all of these projects that come forward if they align with the priorities of one of our state agencies, somehow get them to weigh in on the appropriateness of the request. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other discussion? Or is everyone okay with going ahead with this one? Henry, or Representative Elgerson, go ahead.
I think there's still questions on this. It's fine if you want to go ahead, but it raises the point that we're funding the design, and this is just small amounts compared to where they're going to come up with the overall building replacement of these bridges. And at least from what I've read or heard, there isn't money available through KDOT. Maybe there's money available through the federal government, but our process has a problem. We should fund projects for planning with this money that we have a relatively assured position that we know that there is Department of Transportation dollars, either state or federal, available, or there's going to be another source. And right now, we're putting our money, and I'm betting if you go back and look at the projects that we have funded that haven't been moved ahead, we probably have funded projects for planning, and nothing's going to happen with them. And my point with this, and not only this project, but with all of them, we should have buy-in from both of the planning and the building in the process of the dollars. Not just putting money out because there's possible federal funds available, but because there are federal funds available for the planning and, more importantly, for the building, either state or local or national. So it's, you know, the amount of money we're talking about is insignificant. It's that the policy needs to be looked at by this committee a little bit differently.
I might ask you too, can you get us information that what Representative Helgerson is talking about is early on in the process, there was a lot of approvals for bike paths and all kinds of stuff. And it was all planning, every bit of it. And I don't know, I'd like to know if the feds have approved any of them. If they have, where we're at, like Representative Hilgerson said. I mean, have any of these moved forward? Or are we spending, I know some of them cart paths, the studies were $500,000.
I wrote it down as you were speaking, and so the next time that we meet, I'm happy to provide that level of detail. One of the things that I've also done this week is taken a good look at all of the projects that have received their IIJA funding and approval. So that's a chart that I can share with you all as well.
Representative Hoffman.
So I don't know. I keep going back to the, you know, where it says the KDOT, or the county applied for state level funding through KDOT for the bridge and road improvements. I can't see that they applied to KDOT without a plan and design when they put in their application. Now, why KDOT didn't, whether it was that they ran out of money or it didn't fit, but I can't see how they had applied for something through KDOT and didn't already have this. Now, is this paying for, you said something about 20-some bridges. Is this just for those two, design and construction, just those two bridges? Okay. I don't know. I hate to be the bad guy to make a motion, but this just, it seems like that it seems like this should have already been done before they even applied to KDOT. I mean, if it wasn't done before they applied to KDOT, no wonder KDOT denied it. So I don't know. Yeah, the deadline, what happens if it says the deadline is October 1st. So what's going to happen if we deny this?
Actually, since the applications came out, the USDOT has paused that program. The NOFO has been paused. So there isn't an immediate deadline for that. So.
Then I make a motion that we send this back for more information from KDOT and for our next meeting.
I have a motion, second by Representative Helgerson. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Please proceed. Oh, Representative Helgerson.
What does paused mean? Paused because they're not going to fund the program, or because they're changing the dates?
No, yeah, they're just changing the dates. They've just delayed it. Pause. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not canceled.
Not canceled.
Okay, wanted to share with you some of the events that we are planning to attend during the months of October, November, and December, as well as we will be at all of the KDOT local consults. So if there is an opportunity to, and I personally will be at all of these meetings, if any of you plan to be there and there's an opportunity for us to have a meeting, that is great. and would love to hear a little bit more about your engagement and interactions with the hub, and always looking to understand how we can elevate the work that we're doing across a whole of state government. So unless there are any final questions, it was very nice meeting all of you, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you being here today. Committee, we also have minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? Representative Waymaster.
I move to approve the minutes from the July 22nd, 2025 Build Kansas Advisory Committee meeting.
We have a motion. We have a second by Representative Helgerson. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I guess we have time for discussion, advice, and recommendations. Representative Helgerson.
Was this funded for 4 years? And we have now gone through 2. We're in 3. And, okay. Do we need to put a recommendation in for the budget process that's coming up? Because I'm assuming that Appropriations and Ways and Means will be looking at a biennial budget. And if the governor is proposing money for this is one thing, but is the legislature going to be looking for this committee to make a recommendation on whether or not to fund additional years? Or just use the years, money that we have not spent?
Representative Waymaster.
Well, and that's a good question, because last year we obviously had a pretty sizable balance sitting in the fund, and that's why we did not have the allocation going in fiscal year 2026. I think some of the information that Sean and Jason have provided us with today to give us an idea for year 4, because we're going to be looking at that for fiscal year 2027, is kind of looking at the scope of what may be happening with some of the programs in the federal government. That's why I think when Senator Petty and I were asking the questions on what's the actual balance of the fund, and if some of the, and we're not going to have all those awards that are awaiting approval by the federal government being awarded. So we're going to have a balance sitting there, most likely. And I think that's a question. Maybe we don't do the 50 million, but we do 25. I think we need to have a discussion at the next meeting of what the potential is of the federal government canceling more programs, or, as you know, we had also talked in the last one, pausing them for a time frame, and then looking at a dollar amount for year number 4. Now, keep in mind, when we set up the legislation in the budget for the Build Kansas Fund and also this committee, we also put in that there is the procedure of going to the State Finance Council if we would ever exhaust all the funds in that fund. So we do have that avenue as well. But I think we do need to gauge some type of parameters around what would be transferred in fiscal year 2027, what the balance may look like when we start the legislative session, or even the expanded budget committee meetings that will be starting here shortly. And then what is the potential of some of these programs still being available to the federal government?
Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, I'm learning the protocol. I just wanted to say that, to your point, that's something that came up earlier this week. So I've already started to work on what the longevity of these grant programs look like, what the feelings are. I mean, I think it's probably impossible to say with 100% precision, but there is opportunities to have an understanding of what is likely to be deemed to move forward and what isn't likely to be moved forward. So just wanted to say that's also something that's front of mind for me as well. And as I mentioned, the next time we meet, we will have, I can come in with a chart that shows exactly what the balance looks like as opposed to how we have it listed or how we showed it on the dashboard today. And we'll make sure that we have handouts available for everyone so that they have that information easily accessible. Thank you.
Senator Fagg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing you might do, Sean, and put on your list so that I can understand the awarded federal grants, what kind of obligation we would have when the Fed comes up with their money, exactly what that number is from the state side if we're doing our 5%. And I think we need to understand what that number is. You've got a plan for that because that one's already been set in place until they decide not to do it. And try to understand our contingent liability hanging out there and this kind of thing. So that would be the thing that I would add to that in your thought process so that we know where we're at, because we don't have a bunch of federal stuff coming in that we can't match kind of thing. So need to understand where we're at on that. Thank you.
Understood.
Under other discussion? Dylan? Senator Petty, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Could you also, at a future time, provide us with the federal programs that have now been discontinued?
Yes, I already have that on my list from, and we will make that available to you as well.
Thank you.
Dylan, do you have a little information you can share with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with your permission. Regarding there's two primary bridge programs. There's a formula program and there's a BIP program, which is a discretionary grant program that was part of the IIJA. As you know, KLED recently published a memorandum on the Big Beautiful Bill. The program was temporarily paused, the BIP program. There were requirements for the application that were changed. So there were some climate change requirements and some racial justice requirements. Those requirements were removed, and then that program was restarted. So those applications are going forward as part of the IIJA. So as of now, that program has not been eliminated.
Any questions for Dylan? Thank you, Dylan. Committee, any other things you can think of? Okay, seeing none, I think we will adjourn. Thank you for being here today, Sean.